Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. This is Donna Sharp with Holistic Wellbeing. Thank you so much for joining me here on day 494 as we're quickly approaching 500 lives. Can you imagine? You've been with me for quite some time, many of you. And again, I just always pray that the information that you're taking away is something beneficial for you and your family, and it's something that added value. Okay, so we're all about depositing into people's lives, not withdrawing, because when you withdraw from people's lives, then guess what? You're taken away from them. So it's always about depositing and not withdrawing. Just keep that in mind. Hi, Miss Wanda. Welcome. Thank you for joining. So as you know, I have been speaking from the book, 3 Steps to a Strong Family, and it's by Linda and Richard Airy. And it's also forwarded by Stephen Covey. And Stephen Covey is a great planner. So if you're not very clear on how to plan things in your life, he's known for organization, calendar, logging things. So look him up if you get a chance. Very, very beneficial. So I've been speaking from this book to basically help teach children the values of their money management, their responsibilities at home, how families can actually mesh with their children better. Because as you know, the time that we're in right now, it's so valuable. I don't believe that people really understand what they have available to them. I'm going to say that again. I don't know if you understand the time and the value of what you have on your hands. If you already recognize most of America's population is a working group around the clock. So a lot of families don't have time to spend with their children, spend with their loved one, and really get to know them, because the employment side of business just takes away from that in many cases. And then when the money comes in, they're routing it back around and they're spending it on things that they probably should not be spending it on. And they're not utilizing the value of the extra time that they have and spend it with their actual family. So I can't express enough that the time that you have now is time that you probably could not have gotten just from a vacation request, okay? So now more than ever, I've been on this topic on speaking about children and how to make sure you teach them responsibilities, teach them how to manage your funds, teach them how to write a checkbook. And I've covered quite a bit of things for the past 2.5 weeks. So again, I do pray that you're taking away good information that you can actually use, not just hear about, but actually put into effect. So tonight I'm going to speak with you guys on, or should I say this morning, I want to speak with you guys on adjustment for age. Why do we want to speak about adjustment for age? I mentioned yesterday that you often can teach children different things, but they're not going to necessarily grasp the information the same. A younger person may not grasp the information as much as an older person. So everything is timely, because there are just certain things that you cannot teach an 8-year-old versus what you would teach an 18-year-old. So tonight we're going to speak on adjustment for age. And there is a story in here, and it kind of sums up a whole lot of things that I was speaking about the past 2 weeks. So I'm going to read it to you so you can understand why it turned out beneficial for this particular child as a result of what the parents taught him. And then you'll see how this all comes together. So an 8-year-old child or younger is not old enough to do very well when it comes to checkbook and interest. You speak those kind of language to them, and chances are they're going to look at you with their head tilted and say, what is it? What are you talking about? Interest? Checkbook? What is a checkbook? You know, it's funny. Sometimes I tell people about like the 8-track tape, or I remember the time when I had a beeper. Or it was so funny because there's one time I heard, what is this guy, Dougie Fresh came on, and I was singing the song verbatim in the car. And my youngest was, or no, it was my daughter. She said to me, Mommy, what is that? Hi, Ernesto, thanks for joining. She said, Mommy, what is that? And I said, what are you talking about? So I'm singing this song because it was something back in our college days. So I'm going through the song and I'm singing, la-di-da-di, we like to party, we don't cause trouble, we don't bother nobody. And it's funny because it was years ago that I heard this song, but it was something that just embedded in my subconscious. So I was able to verbalize the song, right? Just thinking way back when I was going to college. And she's like, Mom, what is that? So I never thought that I would get to the point in my life where my children would look at me and see how foreign some of these things were that I was associated with. And I'm segueing a bit, but this just came to me, so bear with me. But the beeper, the bigger telephone, all those things that we had when we were in school, and now you tell them about it and they look at you and they go, what are you talking about? That just doesn't make sense. That was before my time. I remember I said that to my parents, and now here we are, right? So an 8-year-old is not old enough to understand certain things. So you cannot necessarily speak to them about a checkbook, about interests, because remember, if a child does not develop until they're the age of 25 years of age, fully, with a frontal lobe, how is it an 8-year-old is going to learn certain things? So be conscious of what you're teaching them, not too soon, because you want to make sure that they're absorbing the information and they're getting a lot of takeaways from it. If you overwhelm them too soon, you're going to lose them, right? So children 3 years old can start saving money in their own little piggy bank. You remember that piggy bank with the little snort, snort, and they drop their money in, it has a stopper on the bottom. They can save money in their own piggy bank, right? They can also use the PEG system to keep track of a couple of very simple responsibilities around the house. And if you didn't get a chance to join the live that I spoke on the PEG system, it's basically there's responsibilities that's divided among the household, and the children will have their part to take care of. Parents too, but parents, of course, will take most of the weight. And the children will basically stick the PEG in upon completion of the chore that they were assigned to. And that's the PEG system. So when you hear me talk about the PEG system, that's what I'm referring to. And as a result of the accomplishment of that particular goal, they earn money in return, all right? So they can use the pegboard system to keep track of a couple of very simple responsibilities around the house. They can teach you can teach younger children some of these things. Basically, younger children, they look forward to partaking in the chores that older children in the family are taken advantage of. You know, they want to grow up and be like their big brother or big sister. But you want to make sure that you're encouraging them that once they get older is when they will be able to do the same things as their brother or sister and get those reward that's accompanying it, because they're not young, they're not old enough yet to do that. You give it to them on their level, basically. All right. So at that time, they can earn their own money, they can buy their own clothes, and we spoke on all of these items. They can earn interest on their money, giving them additional incentive. You know, if you do an additional chore, maybe you're not only going to earn some interest, but you may earn a bonus as well. Just a little encouragement. And having a checkbook. Yesterday I spoke in detail about a checkbook and how to acquire one, which is one of your old checkbooks, and you're walking them through the process of how to deposit, withdraw, but it's not so much on the withdrawal side, you know, as it is depositing and getting that savings and that investment and that tithe money, whatever the case is that they need. They're just doing the withdrawals for basic everyday things and budgeting themselves accordingly, right? So age 6 children may be able to complete slips to show their numbers, basically from 1 to 4, showing a points earned, right? Again, so it's making it very streamlined and simple for them. And here again, as I also mentioned, you might want to add a bonus, 10 cents per day for extra chore worked or something to that effect, all right? So give them the incentive that they need to keep them going forward, because I'll tell you, when you're talking about money to anyone, savings, it's not the most exciting topic. So you want to make sure it's not only exciting, but it's rewarding at the same time. Later on in life, when they grow up, they're going to really appreciate you. So suggestion by the family from this book, one of the things that they said was they took their child's bank at the age of 14. They had a child at the age of 14. Keeping in mind each child is going to mature at a different level. 2 or 3 14-year-old will never be at the same level, because individuals grow at a different rate. Some people learn faster. Some people take them a longer time to get it, all right? Some people just later on have a Kodak moment. It says, oh, that's it. So it just depends. Everyone's at a different level, just like adults are. It's not just the children, right? So to open a real checking account, the family bank checkbook ceases, but the investment savings account, that continues in the family bank until they become the age of 16 years of age. So you can transfer the checking piece of it to an actual real bank, but later on, you want to but during that time, you want to make sure they understand that savings investment account, it actually stays at the house, because you want to encourage them to always deposit in their investment account and savings account, never withdrawing from it, because there's a purpose for that, right? And then 14 years of age has a real checking account. That's what they're mentioned in this family. They started their child at the age of 14. They had a real checking account, and they wrote their own checks to stores that they were very familiar with. And again, now they're feeling even more, they're having more of an accountability issue. It's not issue, but they're being more accountable. It's okay at home, but now that they're having the real bank, the outside building, it's something that becomes real to them, right? So the benefits of starting a family economy at a young age is that it's reflected by the two of their children in this book, and that's the area that I said I wanted to share with you. And I'm going to read through this. I'm just going to ask you for your patience, because this child, pretty much Josh, at the age of 19, is explaining how, by following the entire process that I spoke on for 2 weeks, how it benefited him down the line. All right, so here we go. So when I was in elementary school, kids would often ask me how much money I got for my allowance. I was always proud to tell them that I didn't get an allowance, but I got my peg in every day and put a signed slip in the bank every night that I would get more money than their allowance. They always thought it was really cool, so did I. I can still remember the day Dad got the idea of pegs. He was in the workroom for most of the day, and at dinner, he showed us his creation. We each had our own board with our own names carved in it. There were 4 holes drilled in each board with a peg hanging down from each hole. All of the boards were chained together, and it was varnished and everything. He explained what we needed to do to put each peg in. We all thought it was really cool. He made a family bank and carved the National Bank of Heirloom on the side. He explained payday and gave us each our own checkbooks for our own family accounts. It was an exciting day. At least I was excited. It made me want to do my job and my practicing, so I got my pegs in so I could get some money at the end of the week. We each had our own jobs in the kitchen, and we'll all practice instruments. We all looked forward to payday, when we'd get paid according to how many pegs we got in during the week. We got 10% interest every 3 months. That's 40% a year. I didn't realize how much that was until I opened a real bank account. Later, Mom and Dad introduced zones, areas in the house that were in charge of keeping clean. After we had these for a while, I slacked off the peg, which meant I got very little or no money on payday. Maybe I just felt I was too old for it, which I wasn't. It's a mistake I'm paying for because I would have more money than I do. I can remember my sister Shawnee would always get all of her points, so I felt kind of bad when I saw how much money she got and I got none. It's not until now that I realize what a great system it really is. I think my dad is the smartest person in the world, and he's not telling me to say that. I learned so much from the system that will really help me in the future. I need to work hard to be successful. When I look back on the family economy system, I love it. I actually miss it. I wasn't so fond of it at certain times, but it really is a great system. So they've instilled these. Hi, Colette. How are you? Hi, Jade. I look up and there I see people. Hey, guys. Great to see you. So I'm speaking from the book, 3 Steps to Creating a Strong Family. In the past 2.5 weeks, I've been speaking on how can we establish a relationship with our children by teaching them the basics of life that school doesn't necessarily teach them. How do you manage a checkbook? I spoke intently on that yesterday. How do you create a responsibility around the house so they can feel involved? And so the last 2 weeks of lives, feel free to go back and watch. They're all titled. You can just watch them at your own leisure. But tonight we're speaking about adjustment to age, because every child learns at a different age. If they're 18, if they're 8, they're not going to grasp the information as much as an 18-year-old. So I just read this story about Josh. He's 19. He utilized everything we spoke about over the past 2 weeks. He utilized his dad created the PEG system for him, made the box really nice when they did their responsibility. They had to put the pegs in the hole. As a result of placing the pegs in the hole, they also got rewarded. So they got payday, right? But the basic premise behind what he is saying is, with hard work, it comes success. Things are just not going to be handed to you. You have to put the work in. And you have to love it when you put the work in. Because if you don't love what you're doing, then you're not going to put the work in, if that makes sense. And he saw how hard his sister worked, and he saw the rewards that it netted her. And just wish he had done just a tad bit more. But nevertheless, he still learned the process in the system that his dad taught him. All right. So, you know, I never really liked pegs much when we were first started doing this. Now I think back on the whole idea. It seems to be a very good one, but I didn't like it. I remembered when Dad introduced the whole peg system and the points and slips and how we have to buy our own clothes. I felt overwhelmed. And put out. I already felt overburdened by family responsibilities, and it seemed that every kid had nicer clothes than me already. If I had to buy my own, it would be even worse. I fought against the idea. No other kids had to do so many jobs or earn their own money. I was mad. But you know what? As time went on, I realized that having a specific job actually lessened the number of things Mom asked me to do. My duties were more straightforward and my rewards were more obvious. And I could pick out my own clothes if I had to buy them. And it was pretty cool to figure out your points at the end of the week and get a good bit of money. Not just a little allowance like other kids. It took a little while, but I began to see the system as a way to earn more control, more freedom, not less than other kids. I earned and controlled money. I was contributing key members of a working economy. One suggestion I would have for this system is that it be presented very carefully in the beginning, that it be explained as an option resulting in more freedom, more money, more organized family division of labor, more clearly outlined expectations and rewards. People in general react better to ideas and options than to systems which are going to be put in a place whether they like it or not. So part of what I explained to you is that you never want to force your children to do something. You make suggestions, you let them know that this is going to progressively help them as they become adults. As I mentioned to you, there's some adults that don't even know how to balance their own checkbook. I hate to say that. But these concepts and principles that I've been teaching on from this book, it's not only going to develop a better relationship between you and your children, but it's going to establish a system. So when they get older and they have their own children, they're going to look back and appreciate you and say, you know what, Mom, I thank you so much for showing me how interest actually accrues. I had concerns with this word yesterday. Must be a Jamaican thing. Hold on just a second, guys. When children, I had to do some adjustments here. When children actually see how interest bearing works on accounts, and they see that they put a certain amount in and they're going to earn this much more, it helps them. It's a beneficial thing. But then the example I gave you about a week ago is when they have a credit card, for example, and they spend a certain amount of money on it, spend $500 on it. They think that they can just take that plastic, spend the money, and life is good. But explaining to them the process behind that you have to borrow that money. So they're going to charge you a little bit to borrow their money. And if you don't pay it back in time, then guess what? Now it's not 500 anymore. It might be 700, right? So those simple concepts you want to teach your children, because later on they're going to understand that. And they're going to see that this really makes a lot of sense. If I follow the right process, I can put more money in my own pocket than doing all these expenditures. And next thing you know, 20 years gone down the line, and it's time for you to retire, and you're looking back and saying, what happened to my money that I had? So make sure that you're managing it okay. All right, so I'm going to read the summary to you, and then I'm finished. It says, if you're starting a system with older children, make sure to take Serene's advice about explaining it carefully. Like all family systems, this one is easier to introduce with younger children, but most older children will go along with it if you carefully explain the reasons for trying it and the advantages that they'll get out of it. Choosing their own clothes, specific limits on the household responsibility, etc. So begin with a family bank and a family checkbook, and go to a real bank after your child has little experience and is comfortable with using checks and deposit slips. All right, so there's a point where you let them go and you let them fly away just a little bit because you want them to do it on their own so that they can acquire the physical skills of doing it themselves. If you hold their hand through every single thing, your children are not going to learn. And that goes for adults in any subject area that adults have. You don't want to spoon feed the person. Let them do it, let them try it, let them experience it for themselves. So like I always say, guys, all the lives I've been speaking with all of you, this is my day 494 of doing these lives continuously since January 1st of 2019. You can take all the information that I've given you. This is a wealth of information that I've shared. All right, so you can listen to me all day long, but I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're not placing any of these concepts in practice that I speak on, and you come back and you message me and say, you know what, I tried this and it worked, it's not going to do you any good. It's just going to go in your conscious and it's going to come out of your conscious. I did a whole live series on conscious and subconscious level. You have a conscious, subconscious, and an unconscious. So it's going to sit in a place in your memory bank that you're not going to be able to retrieve it unless you actually physically put it in practice yourself. So I'm going to encourage you, take this live. If you have nieces and nephews and children and grandchildren and whatever it is, right? Maybe an adult that's struggling. Pass the information on to them by sharing my live. Be sure to hit the love button, okay? And place some comments on there. If you join the lives later after I complete this segment, please not just type replay, place a comment there and tell me what your takeaway was. When you talk about your takeaway to me, you're only refreshing the information in your mind so that you can actually embed it into your brain, all right? So that's just a little suggestion from me. So I'm a transformational holistic wellness coach, and I'm very passionate about what I do. If you desire to learn more about me, please log on to my website, which is holisticwellbeing.com. So the WHOLELISTIC wellbeing.com. Click on the About section. There you can find out a little bio on myself and why I love what I do. All right. But aside from that, I will be back again here tomorrow on day 495 as we're going to continue in the book, because I want to make sure you guys get this really good, because you have quality time that you're spending with your family. Now more than ever, it's the time to learn to know the people that are around you, especially your children. Get to know them. All right, teach them the things that college and schools will never ever teach them. These are all the basic things in life that they need. So tomorrow, speaking of which, that was a great segue. Tomorrow I'll be speaking on college and other investments, and I'll give you their insights, and I'll also give you my insight as well. So Colette, it's so wonderful to see you. Great to see you. Jay, thank you so much for joining. Ernesto, thank you for joining as well. And Wanda, great to see you. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to sign off. I've taken enough of your time. I thank you so much for your patience through all of this. Until tomorrow, be safe. Have a fantastic rest of your evening, and just know that I care and I love you. All right, take care. Ciao.